Every time a developer drops a new event in a game, they have a script in mind, right? But the second it goes live, the players jump on stage, and the story, well, it can go in directions nobody ever saw coming. Today, we're going to break down how a simple announcement for the Orb events in Planet Calypso wasn't just a content drop. It became this amazing collision of developer plans and player creativity. It really proves that the best stories are the ones written together.
So, this is where it all started. This was the spark, an official post from the developer, Mindark, and it reads just like the opening of a sci-fi movie. You've got mysterious orbs, weird rhythmic pulses, and this hint that something else is being drawn to them. It's the perfect hook, you know? It's designed to pull the entire community into a brand new mystery.
Okay, so what was the official plan here? Let's dig into the blueprint the developers laid out for Phase 1. This was how the game was supposed to be played, the experience as it was designed before thousands of players got their hands on it and turned it upside down.
So here are the nuts and bolts. The core idea, the main loop, was pretty simple. You go hunt these Argonaut creatures near the new orbs, and you hope they drop pristine Argonaut claws. These claws were basically the master key for the whole event. You could use them to craft new weapons, upgrade your old ones, and it was even fueling rumors of a new black market. A pretty classic loot grind, but it came with a couple of really strange twists.
And here is one of those twists. Getting your weapon upgraded wasn't some simple in-game click. No. Players had to collect all the claws and then create a support case. You heard that right. You had to literally file a ticket with the game's customer support to get your upgrade. It's this bizarrely bureaucratic process that kind of injects this dose of weird reality right into a fantasy world. But of course, that was just the developers' half of the story. The second that announcement hit the forums, the players grabbed the pen and started writing their own version. And it was immediately obvious their story was going to be way more chaotic and way more interesting. First up, you get this, the pure, uncut optimism. Players like Killaby were all in, right from the start. Awesome work and nice story. This is the dream reaction for any developer, right? Pure excitement, total engagement, players ready to just dive right in. But that initial high, it never lasts long without a few questions. And sure enough, just a few minutes later, the very same player follows up with this. It's the inevitable next step in the process. Players immediately start poking at the rules, trying to find the edges. They need to know the details. Hey, are my hard-earned weapon tiers going to disappear if I do this upgrade? The dev quickly answered no, but this moment is the perfect example of that fast shift from loving the story to calculating the mechanics. And right here, you can see the two camps that formed almost instantly. On the left, you've got the pure enthusiast, just giddy about the chance for new loot. But on the right, you've got the critic, immediately worried about fairness. Is this just another event for the handful of players who can grind 24/7? This is that fundamental push and pull you see in almost every online game. But the player response went so much deeper than just praise or criticism. Pretty soon, people started to strategize, to build whole economic models, and even find their own personal stories inside the event. This is where the real game was beginning. And then, a player named Sir Arch drops this little piece of wisdom, and it just changes the whole conversation. He's not just talking about killing monsters anymore. He's drawing this brilliant parallel to the California gold rush, arguing that the real money wasn't in finding the gold, the claws, it was in selling the shovels to all the miners. This comment just perfectly nails the metagame that was popping up. You've got the grinders on one side. They're the miners out there for hours, hunting for that one rare drop. And then you have the merchants, the smart players who realized all those grinders are going to need ammo, armor, and supplies. All of a sudden, success in the event wasn't just about fighting skill, it was about mastering this brand new, totally player-driven economy. Now, in the middle of all this economic theory and debate, something else was happening. A deeply personal story began to unfold. And it came from a player whose entire identity in the game was tied up in the exact weapons at the center of this event. Claws. This is from a player named Bebe, and you can just feel the emotional roller coaster in his post. He has this sudden realization that the entire event is about his thing, his niche specialty. And his reaction isn't just pure joy, it's this wild mix of excitement and anxiety. His unique passion is suddenly the center of attention, and he has no idea if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And this right here, this is the heart of it.
For Bebe, this wasn't just about some weapon type, it was his identity. He picked this unpopular, overlooked weapon and just dedicated himself to it. He wanted to be known as the fricking claw guy. So for him, this event wasn't just new content, it was a validation of his entire playstyle, and maybe even a threat to the unique identity he carved out for himself.
And what's so beautiful is how the community reacted. Another player sees Bebe's passion, his whole story, and gives him a title, Clawman. And just like that, in that one moment, a player-created narrative becomes real. He isn't just some guy who likes claws anymore. He's the Clawman, a community legend born right there in a forum thread.
So let's pull back and look at the big picture here. What we have is the developer's blueprint, a very structured event with clear rules and goals. And then we have the player's lived experience, a chaotic, unpredictable, and deeply personal story.
What this all shows is that a developer's announcement is only ever Chapter 1. The players will always write the rest of the book. They create these emergent economies, like the Gold Rush merchants, and they create social roles and legends like Clawman. It just goes to show you, these events aren't just content. They're living, breathing social experiments where the real prize isn't some rare loot, but the identity and the stories players build for themselves along the way.
Which really leaves us with this one big fundamental question about these online worlds we spend so much time in. Who's the true author of the story? Is it the developer who writes all the code, or is it the community that builds a culture inside of it? The Orb event suggests that maybe the most powerful stories aren't written by one or the other. They're discovered somewhere in the space between.